Kenny Dillingham is saying all of the wrong things right now.
You are Locked On College Football with Spencer McLaughlin, your daily podcast on all things college football. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Locked On College Football. I'm your host, Spencer McLaughlin. Thank you all so much for making this your first listen or your first view every day. It is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, the number one sports podcast network out there. Thank you all so much, especially my everydayers, for helping make that the case. Miami and Texas A&M play a playoff game later this week. I'll tell you what to know. Real football. I know. Football actually does exist. Dylan Raiola is going to play his football somewhere else next year. Some thoughts on that. This episode brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. Kenny Dillingham is being asked about the Michigan job, and he is saying all the wrong things if you are an Arizona State fan looking for a steadfast commitment from your head coach that he won't be leaving Tempe. It is not all doom and gloom. I will break down what he has said in over the course of this week. Earlier this week, on Monday, I discussed Jedd Fisch as an option. I believe that the tide has shifted in that regard, and Jedd Fisch is not going to be the next head coach for the Michigan Wolverines. But Kenny Dillingham absolutely could be. So last time I talked about him on the show, I mentioned that he'd be an incredible hire. I think the best hire that Michigan could make, given the timing of this whole Sharon Moore situation, and that they were working on an extension. And I'd been told that was happening. Well, that hasn't materialized yet. Here's a quote from Kenny Dillingham yesterday. Quote, "I love it here. I've said that since day one. That's absolutely never changing. Absolutely never changing. That piece is never changing." When he gets asked about other jobs, he talks about how much he loves it at Arizona State. He loves having his sister nearby and having his family close to him. I think he does love all of that. And guess what? You can love all of that and still go be the head coach at the University of Michigan. You know why? Sharon Moore was, of course, fired, and that whole situation is unfolding off the field. Where's Bryce Underwood right now? Any announcement that he's gone into the portal? Nope. Where's Sam Leavitt right now? Oh, he's in the transfer portal? Yeah, that's right. You know why? Because try though Kenny Dillingham diligently has over the last couple of years, the level of financial support that you can put together at Arizona State is more than what it has been in the past. It is still not in the same realm as some of the other big-time programs. And Michigan is no worse than a top 15 job in college football. I'm not debating exactly where I'm putting them. They're nowhere outside the top 15. Arizona State, you could argue, is a top 30 job. It's not a top 15 job. Because remember why Bryce Underwood flipped to Michigan from LSU? Partly because he wanted to play there. And also because, they came in with a big NIL offer and said, hey, we'll go 4 years, $12 million for a kid who's never played college football before. Meanwhile, Sam Leavitt is leaving because he's likely going to get more money. And Arizona State was ready to make a competitive offer. I know that for a fact, but somewhere else is going to be able to offer more. Whether that is LSU or Miami or Indiana or Oregon, we'll see where he winds up going. But everything that Kenny Dillingham has said, he went on a tangent at one point in a press conference this week in which he was praising the Michigan job and saying how great of a job it is. Well, none of that is inaccurate. And ordinarily, that wouldn't be a concerning thing to hear if you were a Sun Devils fan. But when it comes amidst a flurry of comments that don't feature the words, I am staying at Arizona State, I will not be entertaining other jobs at this point in time. Look, coaches have gone back on stronger statements than what Kalen DeBoer said to kind of tamp down the idea that he'd be Michigan's next head coach. But when I talked about Jedd Fisch earlier this week, and as I said, I believe the tides have shifted in that regard, and he will not be Michigan's next head football coach. He was asked about the Washington job and whether he expects to be there. He said, yeah, I expect to. It's a very political answer. Because he could take a job somewhere else and not have gone back on his word and not have to deal with that whole tete-a-tete with the media and fans. Well, I did expect to, but something changed. Kenny Dillingham is putting himself in that same position. Now, here's where this might not all be bad news. This could be at a place that has got immense potential, but certainly has not realized it fully from a financial side of things. Despite being a really big university that has a lot of money, all about priorities and having the right people in place, this could all be a leverage move from Kenny Dillingham to get more money for his assistants, to get more money for rev share, NIL, all of the above. This could absolutely be him wanting to put pressure on the administration and letting them know, hey, I love it here, but you got to back us up because look at this offer. This is a great offer. Look at this program. Let me talk up this Michigan. Michigan is such a great place. Everybody knows it's one of the best logos in sports, he said. I don't think I've ever heard a coach compliment somebody else's logo like that before. He was going out of his way to say a bunch of great things about Michigan. And when asked about leaving, man, I love Arizona State. My job is to, he's given all these political kind of non-answers. But I think that generally coaches in this spot are trying to say nothing. I think Kenny Dillingham is trying to say something. I don't know if he's trying to give Arizona State an ultimatum. At the very least, though, he is trying to put pressure on them to step up their financial commitment so that he can build a roster that allows Arizona State to go out and compete for a national championship. That's where I get the sense his bar is. And if Arizona State isn't able to meet that, what a massive indictment that would be on the administration and support system, alumni group, everybody across the board that's involved in those sorts of matters. That would be a massive indictment on what's going on in Tempe. Because if you have an alum who is a first-time head coach who has been knocking it out of the park and speaks with more energy and passion and conviction than most coaches do at any point in their career, and he's in year 3 having this level of success, has already brought you a conference championship and a playoff appearance. If you're not able to convince that guy to stay, then Arizona State will be a consistently mediocre football program at best from now until something changes on that front. Because I don't think Kenny Dillingham wants to go to Michigan more than he wants to be at Arizona State. Both can be desirable. Because to him, they are, but for different reasons. I think he looks at Michigan and goes, man, I can build a better roster up there. I can win a national championship up there. We know he can win a Big 12 championship at Arizona State. He did that last year. But he might be thinking to himself, is this lightning in a bottle? Is this an opportunity I have to go and capitalize on because it's such a good job, because it's such a great school? And the gap between what we have here and what I would have there is such a huge disparity. Not what you want to hear if you're a Sun Devil fan. Because he has said nothing definitive that indicates he's 100% locked into Arizona State. I don't think he is all but gone. I think the next several days could be very, very important. Let me know your thoughts in the YouTube comments below. Hit me up on Twitter, however you want to get in touch. Let's talk about an actual football game, and then we'll get back to some portal drama. Miami, Texas A&M. I have one important question. First, this episode brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, defense tightens up, momentum flips after a turnover, any or all of the above. FanDuel lets you jump into those moments, and it lets you jump headfirst into the college football playoff. The game I'm about to talk about here on the show. Texas A&M hosting Miami, a game that we have seen be played between Mario Cristobal and this Texas A&M program before. Miami got the better of them. If you think that's a repeat, Texas A&M's favored by 3.5 on their home field. Should be a very good competitive football game. If you think Texas A&M is rolling, Maybe you're willing to swallow the 3.5. Maybe you think it's going to be by 2 or 3 points and Miami sneaks in a cover, but Texas A&M ekes out a win. Whatever you think is going down, FanDuel is the place to bet on it. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. There are 4 guarantees in life. All right, there are 3 guarantees in life. I was going to go for 4. I'm going to settle on 3. We'll keep it at things I'm 100% confident in. Death, taxes, and there's going to be at least 1 turnover in this game from these 2 quarterbacks. I cannot envision a world in which Miami plays Texas A&M in the college football playoff on Saturday at College Station. I'm very excited. I love the home playoff games. It might be the best part of the expanded 12-team playoff. We need to do more of that. Teams that get byes should get the home playoff games. But anyway, different conversation for a different day. Carson Beck has thrown 10 interceptions this year. When Miami has struggled, Carson Beck throwing interceptions has been pretty much a 1-to-1 correlation. Marcel Reed has also thrown 10 interceptions this year. These 2 guys coming into this game have got 20 picks, and those are just the ones that they throw. And when you look at what both of these teams are able to do on the defensive side of the ball, getting after the quarterback, I don't need to tell you. Do I need to tell you about Ruben Bain? Is that somebody that you're just completely and utterly unaware of? Because he might be the best edge player in all of college football. Then you flip over, Texas A&M has sacked their opponents 41 times this year. Both of these teams are going to be able to pressure the quarterback. The question is, who does it more? Who does it more consistently? Who takes the other guy out of their rhythm the most and forces them into a mistake or two? If both of these guys combine for 0 turnovers, they play a perfectly clean game, what will I do? What should I do? I don't even know what I could realistically do. I don't know. I'll think of something. You guys think of something in the comments below. If there are 0 turnovers by the quarterbacks, and I shall judge what is deemed to be a quarterback's turnover. Because sometimes the running back pulls it out of the quarterback's stomach and puts it on the ground, and sometimes it's a bad handoff. I'll make the judgment call. I'll be nothing if not fair. Remember, I am, of course, neutral arbiter of all things college football. So, Miami against Texas A&M here is a really intriguing matchup. There are 2 matchups that we don't expect to be close, but it's college football, so you never know. That being Oregon hosting James Madison, Tulane traveling to Ole Miss for a rematch they lost earlier this season by 35 points. Ole Miss is favored by 17.5. I don't think this game is going to be that. I do think Texas A&M is going to win. Now, you can focus all you want on whether Miami should be in the playoff, because you know what? They shouldn't. They should not be in this position. BYU plays in a better conference. BYU has a better record, a better strength of record, and a better strength of schedule. And their losses are to the number 4 Big 12 champion, Texas Tech Red Raiders, who haven't lost when their quarterback starts. And yet Miami's into the college football playoff. So does that make sense? Is that why I'm picking against Miami? No, it isn't. It comes down to Texas A&M being at home. Now, a couple of things that we saw last year, I do not believe are going to continue forever. With my game picks, they are going to briefly continue this season, but not forever. Last year, all 4 teams that had a bye lost their game. There were a lot of factors at play there. That's not going to be the case forever. Because the consensus, the narrative, the discussion after all that was, well, you don't want to bye, there's too much time off. Well, there can be something to that. Teams that have byes are not going to lose forever. Because you also had Boise State as a team that was getting a bye. Well, we all know that shouldn't have been the case because they played Penn State and they were the second best team on the field, which we knew going into it. But anyway, not having that discussion right now. So the other thing that happened last year, every team that had a home playoff game wound up winning. I think that is going to continue this year. Somebody that has a bye, probably multiple somebodies, are going to win college football playoff games this year. I don't think the national champion is just going to automatically come from the 5 to 8 range. And last year, that's what you had, of course. because nobody that was seeded 1 through 4, because they fixed the seeding. They haven't fixed everything with the playoff, but they fixed the seeding at least. So I think all the home teams are going to win. I think at least they're winning 3 games, because I don't think you're going to see both Texas A&M and Oklahoma go down on their home field. Either team could easily lose the football game. But here's the other question I have with Texas A&M. And the number one question, as I already mentioned, which quarterback turns the ball over less? That number doesn't need to be 0. If Marcel Reed has 1 turnover, that might put them +2 in the turnover department in this game. Because I trust Texas A&M's defense to be able to make some plays, to get after Carson Beck, who's mobile enough, but can also have some turnover woes. We know that Kyle Field is going to be on fire because it's a college football playoff game, regardless of the time of day that this matchup is being played. Yes, I find it to be ridiculous and unfortunate. It's just the world we live in. Now is not the time to gripe about it. Now is the time to figure out how you're going to go win the football game. And I think Texas A&M is going to do that really only because they're at home. They're such a wild card. They're such a wild card. By the way, their resume of all the one-loss teams, probably the weakest. Who is Texas A&M's best win? Their best win of the season. Notre Dame. Okay? Hey, Notre Dame on the road, darn good win, without question. Here's the lineup of teams they played in the SEC. Auburn missed a bowl game. Mississippi State missed a bowl game. Florida missed a bowl game. Arkansas missed a bowl game. LSU, 7-win team. Missouri, good. South Carolina missed a bowl game. Samford, there you go. And then they lost to Texas. So Miami, who of course beat Notre Dame earlier this year, I think is pretty clearly the second best team that Texas A&M has played this season. And have they proven themselves? Yes, maybe third. Maybe third. I don't know. Texas lost to Florida. That's pretty bad. I'll go with second. Actually, Miami might be the best team that they've played all year, depending on which version of Miami shows up. So here's the thing with Mario Cristobal teams. They can play up to any level of competition. They can play down to any level of competition. I don't think that's changing in this spot just because they're on the road. There was this strange narrative with Miami going around in their regular season finale at Pitt. It's going to be a cold game at Pitt. What is Miami going to do? Miami is built to play cold weather games. Mario Cristobal happens to be an alum of the University of Miami. But his style of football is built for the Big Ten. He wants to run downhill, punch you in the mouth, 3 yards, and a cloud of dust. That's his perfect world. Of course, when you have Malachi Toney, it kind of forces you to throw it downfield, at least a little bit in this game. I think there could be plenty of explosives. Turnovers and explosives. If you want to count a turnover as an explosive play, that's fine. Turnovers and explosives are what are going to define this game. Because on the one side, you've got Malachi Toney, and on the other side, you've got Casey Concepcion and Mario Craver. All those guys can take the top off of defense, flip the field, get the crowd back into it, take the crowd out of it. I think Texas A&M has enough to get this one done. I trust Mike Elko more than I trust Mario Cristobal. Texas A&M is at home. I'll take them to win, swallow the 3.5. I think they win and cover. I think the defenses play better than you think. 27-21. 27-21, I'll take Texas A&M to win the football game. Turnovers and explosives. Watch for them, kids. Watch out for those two things in this game. Should be a really, really fun football game. I know where Dylan Raiola should go. First, this episode brought to you by our friends at Omaha Steaks. The holidays are here, and whether you're hosting family, planning the perfect gift, or just trying to keep things simple and delicious, Omaha Steaks is making it easier than ever. From effortless holiday entertaining to unforgettable gifts, Omaha Steaks delivers the world's best steak experience straight to your door. And what makes it even better? With Omaha Steaks, you always know exactly what you're gifting. USDA certified tender steaks, premium proteins, gourmet sides, and decadent desserts that make anyone feel appreciated. The holidays are all about food. It's such a huge part this time of year. I love food. I am a huge diehard foodie. I love all different types of cuisines and cultures of food. And guess what? I know quality when I see it. Omaha Steaks has got the quality you're looking for to give a foodie like me, the foodie in your life, the Spencer in your life, a gift that he or she will enjoy for the holiday season. Save big on gourmet gifts and holiday favorites with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com and for an extra $35 off, use the code COLLEGE at checkout. Terms apply. See site for details. That's omahasteaks.com, promo code COLLEGE. Check them out at omahasteaks.com. So this one came as a bit of a surprise. There had been some rumblings. I didn't think Dylan Raiola would actually leave Nebraska, but he did. And the last impression Husker fans have of the former five-star recruit is that he got hurt in a game against USC that they had. They were ranked in the top 25, I believe, at the time. And, yeah, it went downhill from there. At least they got to a bowl game, but 7-5 is not what that Nebraska team should have been. So, I don't know the details about why Dylan Raiola is leaving Nebraska. This one strikes me as curious to say the least. Sam Leavitt is going to go somewhere and get more money. I understand that. Brendan Sorsby, for his last year of college football, I discussed Indiana being a fit. His girlfriend transferred to Texas Tech, who I also mentioned the other day on the show. Yeah, that would fit really, really well. Probably get more money, be in a better situation. All of that. What is Dylan Raiola looking for? This is not a guy who you'd classify as a five-star bust in any way, shape, or form. You can't do it. And look, I understand everybody's first instinct with Dylan Raiola. Understandably so, because I'm not saying it's false. It certainly isn't. Yes, he idolizes Patrick Mahomes, and he tries to play like the best quarterback of the modern era. Oh, the horror to try and be like the guy who's won 3 Super Bowls and is going to miss the playoffs this year for the first time in his career and won the division every other season. Oh my goodness, I can't believe it. Is it dorky? Is it weird? Is the level of detail with the mannerisms compared to Mahomes strange? Yes, 100%. Now give me a non-Mahomes imitating reason why Dylan Raiola isn't a good quarterback. He started as a true freshman. He had some ups and downs. You mean like every other true freshman that starts? What would you want to see in year 2? More consistency, better production, stronger touchdown to interception ratio? Check, check, check. Across the board. This is a guy who has NFL traits, was a big-time recruit for a reason, was a one-time Ohio State commit for a reason, and as a true freshman completed 67% of his passes. 13 touchdowns to 11 picks. Well, that's not great. Yeah, he's a true freshman. It's hard. And you're doing it at a place that hadn't even been to a bowl game since 2016. And as a true freshman, he gets him over the hump. And then he's got him in position to maybe be a dark horse to go to the playoff, and then unfortunately gets hurt. He's completed 72.4% of his passes. He's thrown for 2,000 yards in 9 games this year, 18 touchdowns against 6 picks. Again, remove the Mahomes idolization quirk, which it absolutely is. Give me a football reason why you wouldn't want Dylan Raiola to be your quarterback. I don't really have one. His mechanics could probably get tightened up a little bit. So where could Dylan Raiola go? Well, I've seen Alabama get suggested. They've got Keelan Russell and Austin Mack. I'd be surprised if Alabama was one. Anytime, literally anytime. I feel like broken record until Miami signs a transfer quarterback at this point. Can't blame them. Results are hard to argue with. 20-4 in the last 2 regular seasons for Miami with transfer quarterbacks. Worked out pretty well. So you're going to mention Miami anytime this conversation comes up. Doesn't matter what quarterback goes in the portal, whether it's DJ Lagway, Sam Leavitt, Dylan Raiola, Brendan Sorsby, any of them could fit. I know Sorsby's probably headed to Tech, but like I think a lot could fit at Miami, and it's not even a knock. It's just a reality that we have to deal with. Like, yeah, Miami's probably going to go and get a guy like that. A name that I have seen suggested, a school I have seen suggested. Well, first let me talk about the Oregon angle. Some of you might know I'm an Oregon guy. I think there could be plenty of fit. I talk about it at length over on today's episode of Locked on Ducks. So if you want to hear more on the Oregon side, go check out that segment on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. In short, I think it could absolutely work. I don't think it's a number one need, I think it's slightly more likely than not at this point in time, Dante Moore is back. And if that's the case, Dylan Raiola, unless his injury is going to keep him out for all of 2026, I don't think we'll go to Oregon. But then I saw a school get suggested. And let me tell you, it clicked for me right away. Right away. Is he talented enough to go to a bigger, better school than the one I'm about to suggest? Absolutely. What was the one thing that I mentioned earlier in the segment that he's got to get a little better at? He could shore up his mechanics. It's not always the cleanest. He can be a little, this is a criticism of Mahomes as well. Sometimes he plays a little fast and loose with his quarterback fundamentals. What would be a good option? Jaden Mayav is returning to USC. More on that tomorrow on the show. So that's not coming into play. What would be a good option? Who's kind of a quarterback whisperer that's brought in a couple transfer quarterbacks, had success? Wait a second. The Louisville Cardinals. Give me a reason why this doesn't work. Jeff Brom's track record is really good. He is Lincoln Riley East. He just takes quarterbacks and they just succeed. The worst quarterback, funny that I bring these two programs up, the worst quarterback that Lincoln Riley has had as a starting quarterback in college, probably Miller Moss, who just led Louisville to an 8-4 record, by the way. And look, I thought they were going to be slightly better than that, and Miller Moss wasn't spectacular. He was good, but he wasn't great. That's why USC went with Jaden Mayav, who they're getting more out of, and will have back for a season next year as well. They're re-signing it. I'm saving that for tomorrow. I think Louisville would be a great fit. If Raiola's looking to get out of the spotlight a little, but still have an opportunity to compete at a high level, I tell you what, Louisville would be a great fit. Because what Jeff Brom does is he takes a quarterback and just makes him the best version of himself. By the way, amidst all the schedule shuffling and all the griping about, legitimate gripes, by the way, some ACC schools will play 8 conference games, some will play 9. It's almost like these conferences are too big. Who could have seen that coming? I don't know. I don't know who could have seen that coming, but anyway. Here's Louisville's schedule next year. Do you know they open with Ole Miss on September 5th? Oof. Pete Golding led Ole Miss, potentially with Trinidad Chambliss, against Dylan Raiola and the Louisville Cardinals. That game is being played in Nashville, Tennessee. I tell you, that's quite the game. Of course, they've got Kentucky. Here's the rest of their schedule. You ready for this? Remember, Dylan Raiola won 7 games in 13 tries. Went 7-6 his first year at Nebraska. And then this past year was 6-2 and then got hurt. So maybe he's looking for some wins. They were doing well this year, but looking for something else. The rest of their schedule: Villanova, at Georgia Tech, Florida State, Pitt, SMU, Stanford, Wake Forest, at NC State, at North Carolina, and at Syracuse, not in that order. Does this sound like a place where Dylan Raiola could put up a lot of numbers? Where he could have a lot of success? I sure think so. There will certainly be other suitors, other options. Arizona State could be a dark horse here. I think Dylan Raiola to Louisville makes a lot of sense. Appreciate everyone listening. I'll see you next time. Until then, hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.